Okay, good. Thank you. My gosh, I was coming in on 670 this morning and they shut the freeway down. So I was a little panicked. I had to jump off and drive down Spring Street. So
Bad accident, I take it?
I don't, well, it said utility work, but somebody else told me there might have been an accident. So I don't know, to tell you.
There was a semi that jackknifed and was on its side,
Yeah.
or ran into the wall.
Oh, goodness. That's not good. Are we waiting for anybody, Louis?
No, just you. So we're good to go now.
Okay, well, let's go then.
Okay.
Let us call the meeting to order. And Louis, do you want to walk through quickly the protocol?
Yes, if you don't mind, give me one moment here. All right. So thank you for joining the meeting. This is the Downtown Commission. We're having a virtual hearing. All attendees are going to be muted upon entry. You will be unmuted as appropriate. They've actually changed that. So if you could please mute yourself until you're ready to speak and then unmute yourself when you're ready to speak. Please mute yourself at this time if you're not one of the commissioners. The chair will call on participants to speak. If you have questions, you may send a message via WebEx chat to the host, which is me. You will be required to have your video featured on if you are speaking. So if your case is coming up, please make sure to have your video ready to go. The meeting is being recorded. To access the meeting materials, they were posted to the Columbus Downtown Commission website. You can see the link there. And comments received via WebEx chat will not be part of the official public record. So the meeting's about to start. Please turn off your video at this time. So all applicants turn off your video and please mute yourself. And I will ask you to turn on your video prior to speaking, or Steve Whitman will. And the order of speaking will be that I will present the application materials for each case. The applicant will be sworn in and asked to present any additional materials. And registered speakers will be sworn in and provided 3 minutes to speak each. Commissioners will discuss the case and ask questions if needed. So that's all. We do not have any speaker slips. So as far as I'm aware, no one from the public wishes to speak at the meeting, but you might want to ask anyways, just in case.
Great. Okay. Do we swear in staff at this point then, Louis?
Yes.
Who's here from the city of Columbus, please? Would you raise your right hand? You swear and affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So say I do. I
do.
Okay, Louis. And then would you take the roll, please?
Sure. So, Steve Whitman.
Here.
Otto Beatty. Here. Mike Lusk.
Here.
Bob Loversige.
Here.
Dana Maniaci.
Here.
Ted Hardesty.
Here.
Tony Slanik.
Here.
We have a quorum.
We have a quorum. Good. We have a motion to approve the minutes, please, from the last meeting. Could I have a
So
motion
moved.
to approve the minutes? Thank you, Bob. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Mike and Jana, thank you very much. Any questions, comments, additions, or deletions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Raise your
Aye.
right hand, thank you. Those opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. Shall we ready to go on to the first case, Louis?
Let's see. I think we got all that out of the way. Yes. So I'll go ahead, get started.
Thank you.
So the first case is going to be at 171 North 4th Street. Let me pull that up here on the map for you.
Even on our case.
Oh, someone speaking, please mute yourself. Okay, so this is 171 North 4th Street. It is right here between Spring and Long. I'll pull this out of here. So what they're coming in for is new construction. So they're returning to the commission with a proposal to construct a multi-level exterior patio on an existing surface lot. It includes landscaping, plantings, retainer, planting walls, a double height shipping container bar, a covered area with a mezzanine above, and various seating areas. And it's going to have a series of tiered decks. The murals are illustrative and graphics will be submitted separately. So the applicant presented for approval at the February meeting of the Downtown Commission. And the main requests were that Bob asked that they come back with more details on the construction. Ted said that he would like to see more emphasis put on screening of the parking lot. Jana said that the billboard would be a good opportunity for mural and artwork on the backside. So in the end, it was decided that they should return with lighting, details on the railing, and details on the construction of the wall. They have provided those details as well as sections and elevations on the rebar wall. It does not include any improvements to the parking lot though. So what they're doing is they're seeking approval of this design, but they plan on building that in the future. For this upcoming summer, they have a smaller temporary patio, which will be the next agenda item. But right now we're just talking about the larger patio. So, you know, the guidelines state that new construction should be influenced by the pattern of nearby contributing buildings. They should be designed in a way that contribute to the community and minimize potentially negative offsite impacts. And additionally, when adjacent to a public street, parking lot should be screened. So in summary, it generally meets the guidelines with regards to design and material. However, it does not address the commissioner's request for improved parking lot screening, nor does it meet the guidelines with regards to surface parking.
Now,
And,
the parking lot, however, is existing. Is that correct for what it's worth?
Yes, the parking lot is existing, but as always, you guys could make that a condition of approval of the patio, I suppose, as well. So.
Is this the same ownership? Does the do the people that own the building and the bar also own the parking lot? I have not understood that.
That is my, okay, well, why don't we swear in the applicants and they can answer those questions?
Okay, so that's not, that's not in our application then, is that's the point. Okay, so
They will be modifying the parking lot, yes, but.
Okay, are you done with your discussion?
Yes.
Louis? Okay. Would those who are here to speak for the applicants, please identify yourself and.
Hi, my name is Art Ostrike, owner.
Okay, anyone else with you today, Art? Is there anyone else with you today to represent the owners?
To represent the owners, no. I mean, Matt.
Okay.
Toddy.
Would you raise your?
Hey, Chief. This is Matt Toddy also. Sorry, must be having some audio issues.
I'm sorry. I mean to represent the applicant. I'm sorry. Anyone else here to represent the applicant? I want to swear in everybody at the same time. Art, is someone else here with you today?
Yeah, Jeff, are you there?
I'm here.
Jeff, hi. Okay, yep, we see you. Anyone else? Matt, Toddy, are you with the applicant?
Yep,
Okay, three of you.
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay, would you raise your right hands? Do you swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So say I do.
I do.
I do.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so Steve, there are the 165 North 4th. We do own that building, which is in between the two that you can see on the screen in front of you. But the parking lot and the building you see with that mural right there is owned by General Tire Sales.
Okay.
We do have a long-term lease that is nearly completed.
Okay.
Or the parking lot.
And the building, yes. We're under a lease right now, but we're extending it quite significantly.
Okay, so let's just step back for a minute because I think we can maybe expedite the whole thing here for a second here. We have two applications, and I called Louis yesterday and said, what are we doing here? And as I understand it, what we're doing is they're asking us to approve a more elaborate project to build these decks and the walls and that kind of stuff. And we would approve that today. But in the meantime, I for one reason or another, I assume it's because you don't have time to get this thing built and you don't want to miss the summer season. but they want to put this deck here. And so they'd like approval for the deck, and then they want to be able to come back when, I guess, when the deck gets closed, the terrace gets closed, and then put in these decks and the more elaborate construction thing. So maybe we can almost handle these together so that everybody understands what you're doing here. And then we'll see if it works for everybody. And if it does, maybe we can approve that right now in one form or another. So why don't we have already seen this? Why don't you talk to us with respect to the construction elements of this thing? And let's see if we've gotten you've addressed the concerns that Bob Loversage and some of the other commissioners were looking for. And then we can move on to look at this patio kind of thing for the meantime. Go ahead.
Steve, so I would like to start off by saying, well, thanks for seeing us again. But the reason we have two patios in the queue today, is because there was a bit of a parcel issue that we were told by the council that could take 3 to 12 months to resolve. And we found out about that parcel issue after I met you guys in February. So we were concerned that would take a year to deal with. So we submitted the smaller patio, so enabled to facilitate commerce, as you said a minute ago. So it does look, however, that basically last week that it looks like that parcel issue is resolved. So I don't want to waste anybody's time, but I also didn't want to not have a patio at some point this year. So both projects are pushing through. In a perfect world, we never do that small patio. I don't want to waste anybody's time, nor money, nor efforts in that situation. So we're really asking to go over the bigger plan with hopes that gets approved. But in case we run into any other hiccups, I think the last time this parcel in question was mentioned was in the 1840s in any kind of book. So we're dealing with some old property issues, and that's what scared the living daylights out of me, which is why I've thrown some resources towards this small patio that is not encumbered by any property or parcel issues. I'll start with that. So when it comes to the construction elements, I kind of just want to hand the floor over to Matt, if that makes sense, because he's going to be able to speak more eloquently to that.
Yeah. Thanks, Art. So we did take the opportunity over the last several weeks to go back and really dive into some of the comments that the commission provided at the February hearing, which were pertaining to some of the construction details. So Lewis has pulled up the sheet here where we've added some information on some of the railings that we have throughout the site. And again, we're talking about the full large patio version in this case. And also the rebar mesh wall.
I'm shutting the damn thing off. 8:30.
Sorry about that.
We've got some details. That's all right. We've got some details there for you, as well as some additional lighting. Art, one of the things that's new on this application is Art has sourced some original light fixtures from Court Street in Athens, and he's in the process of refurbishing those, and we're going to install those in the patio as well, just to bring some of that that Athens feel to the patio here. So you'll see those on the light fixture sheet. I also want to point out, Lewis, I apologize for not making it clear. We did address the parking lot screening comments that Ted brought up, and we had a great conversation with Ted last time we were here. So I'll defer to Jeff on some of the landscaping that we're doing around the parking lot, around the perimeter, out to the corner of 4th and Spring, and then down Spring Street to where the billboard parking island comes in. So, Lewis, you might want to back up a few sheets, and I'll let Jeff kind of talk about some of the details that we've included there for you.
Guys, if I could step in for just a minute, I'm going to try to get this thing to a point where we can approve it for a minute. So can we let's maybe look at one thing at a time. Maybe it's worth trying to look at any of the construction elements and the details on the drawings that give us what we're looking for. Are there any questions on those? Or Bob Lovers, did that are they getting to what you kind of thing you were looking for?
I
on
think
there?
so. Matt, if you could just kind of walk us through what you've added from last time.
Yeah, so on this sheet in particular, the details sheet, Lewis, if you don't mind, we've
Yeah,
added
go back.
some railing details. So there were some concerns about the wood top rails, which we heard and we shared that concern. So we've taken the railings to flat stock steel, which will be painted throughout with a metal rail on the top. The mesh rebar wall that kind of surrounds the northern edge of the patio, you can see elevated in detail C with a section detail D on that sheet, which is really more or less a rebar cage system that gets built up around a structural steel framework. The details of which are going to be worked out with our structural engineering team, but we're anticipating a number of HSS square tubes, somewhere in the magnitude of 8 by 12 steel tubes. Again, they'll be painted. And then this rebar mesh wall will kind of wrap around much like a rebar cage.
I had a
Bob, is there
question.
anything else I can answer for you on that?
I'm good.
Okay,
I had a-
Jen, I had a question.
Yeah, just a couple of things on it. So is that structure freestanding or is that tied back into the deck? It looks like it's probably attached to the deck, or is it just self-supporting?
It is self-supporting. It's designed to be self-supporting. We are exploring ways to add bracing as required. The calculations are still in progress on that, so we're not quite sure how much bracing we will need, if any at all. But we have explored some scenarios where the structure will be braced back to the mezzanine.
And the other question is with the material, with the steel material, is that all, is that when you say it's painted, is it anodized or is it painted on site? So what is the finish on it?
Yeah, the structural steel will be painted on site. A dark iron ore would most likely be the color selection on that one. The rebar would be left to weather naturally, exposed rebar.
Okay. So over time, it would just have like an interesting patina and you'd have almost like a variety, a range of color on it, which.
It would, yeah, that's exactly right. It would absolutely patina, over time. And that's kind of our hope, to get that variety of weathering effect on it.
So you're not going to use that green epoxy coated rebar?
Okay.
We will not.
Except for St. Patty's Day.
You're right.
Here you go. Okay, and I think that part of the questions that we had were just asking for some more detailing here, as well as maybe some of the specifics. Okay, so
Right.
do people think are we set with the construction here? The elements that we had questions about, and are the drawings what everybody's looking for? Bob and
Yes.
everybody? Okay,
Yes.
good. Okay. Are there any other questions about the construction kind of things here on this? Okay, how about lighting? Any questions for lighting? Why don't you walk through that, Matt or Art or somebody, real quick? I don't think we had problems with it last time. It may have been more. You're changing it. I don't think we had a problem with your lighting last time, although I don't recollect.
Yeah.
Lewis, correct me if I'm wrong.
We wanted details on it, I think.
Okay, details. So good.
Yep.
It's hard to tell where everything goes. Can you walk us through that very quickly then, Matt or Art? And
yeah, there's a lot.
Yeah,
there's
go
a
ahead.
lot of lighting going on.
Yeah.
You're seeing on the bottom of the sheet here the range of fixtures that we're proposing. Many of those fixtures appear under the mezzanine. So the painted chandeliers and the directional kind of monopoint lights, those occur under the mezzanine, just to provide ambient lighting there in the covered patio areas. The warehouse pendant fixtures occur over the doors, as the entries into the building. And then we've also included a few wall washers that project downward on the mezzanine. Those are located on the north wall of the building to provide lighting on the upper deck surface.
Right.
And then in terms of decorative lighting, we've got the string lights that occur over top of the patio. You can see those kind of stretching vertically on the sheet there about the midpoint. And then we've also included 3 of these Court Street light fixtures there on the west side. Yeah, exactly, right there, Louis. That Art and his team are restoring and bringing up from Athens to install
Do we have a
on the
picture
deck
of those?
area.
Oh, that's what that is, right there in the
That's what that is
in the
there.
lower right-hand corner. Okay, hey, gee, that sounds like fun. Are those older or just?
Those, my understanding, Art, is those are original to Court Street.
Those were on Court Street in the 1920s and 30s. I have 9 of them, but 3 of them are ready for people to see.
Fine, fine. Okay, and then we've got the chandeliers which come from Venice. So we've got a little Venice meets Santa Fe effect here, just to juice it up.
We'll put that Venetian in air quotes.
Any questions from commissioners on the lighting? Okay,
good.
let's talk while we're on this one. Do you have you've got landscaping? That was another question that we had, and that was a question from Ted specifically. And I did see you were addressing that. Do you want to discuss that real quick?
And I apologize if I missed that.
No problem.
That's all right. Louis, if you can jump forward maybe 4 or 5 pages on the presentation, and we can let Jeff weigh in on some of the changes that we've made on this one. There you go.
Yep.
Hey, can you guys hear me okay? This is Jeff.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. So as per Ted's comments, we kind of went back to these edge beds. We already have, you can see sort of the grayed out pits they're already existing perimeter. I think of them a little more as tree pits, like expanded tree pits. So what we want to do is we want to plant those up. We're adding a handful of what will eventually be canopy shade trees on the overall site. And then we're taking these couple of strips along that's Spring Street. And what we're doing is we're planting them up with these ornamental grasses. We felt like that would give us sort of the most bang for the buck in terms of screening. In the trees, sometimes the trunk is clear and then all the canopy's up high. Whereas it seems to me like the intent here is to screen down sort of at the car headlight level. So we have little blue stem and this narrow strip coming from the corner. Little blue stem grows up to 3 to 4 foot height in a strip like this. Then we have native, and these are all native grass, right? So we have the switch grass then in the larger bed back by the billboard, the top right. Louis, could you pan over to the right a little bit?
Yes.
Okay, and then basically the different sets of tree pits and perimeter planters, they're sort of grouped by grass. So there are these sort of monocultures of grass in each group of planting beds to just give it all like sort of they're native prairie grasses, but in this context, then they give a real sort of architectural structure to the parking lot without losing tons of parking spaces. Frankly, that's the balance we're trying to achieve here.
Are these beds big enough? Will you be able to irrigate them and take care of them so that they look good?
Yeah. So they're wide enough to run at least one irrigation hose, and then in terms of just that simple monoculture in each bed, this long strip of the little blue stem, in terms of weeds and upkeep, it almost kind of takes care of itself. They're very drought tolerant, and they crowd out all the weeds and undesirable plants in there. And so I found them to be just a really great solution for this kind of perimeter planting and screening.
Okay. Are there any other questions? And you own, or you control, you have the ability to do the plantings in this lot. Is that correct? Is that what I'm hearing?
That's correct.
Okay. Are there any questions from the commissioners?
I was just going to say, I appreciate the effort, guys, because there's a series of pretty ugly parking lots along Spring Street, which is really a gateway into downtown. And so, I also, I think there are times a year where I think we would want some more structure. However, a structure in terms of some woody plants, but I think this plant palette kind of fits with what you're doing in terms of the whole project. There's some funkiness to this, and I think it'll be cool and appropriate, and appreciate the effort. And hopefully it kind of sets a precedent for some of these other parcels along Spring Street.
Thanks, Ted.
Okay.
Is the
Thanks,
parking
Ted.
lot lit? Is there lighting in the parking lot?
Yes.
Pat, you want to speak to that? Art, yeah.
Yes, there's lighting in the parking lot, as it stands today.
Thank you.
Okay. So we have an application here where they're asking for approval. Are there any other elements that you wanted us to look at, Art and company, here, or did we cover what we need to on your application here today?
I think we did.
Okay, commissioners, are you folks feeling comfortable with this?
I just had one quick question. With the grasses that you're proposing, like the little blue stem, will that look pretty much the same year round, in the sense that, I can't really tell from the picture, but it looks like it's green, and maybe it even has some blooms, some very tiny blooms on it. And I'm wondering what that looks like in the winter months. Does that still look fairly green?
So they're not evergreen, and they won't be green in the winter. The idea behind a sort of range of especially native prairie grasses like this, the sort of aesthetic concept is that they stay standing in the winter, unlike perennials or unlike the leaves on deciduous woody plants.
Mhm.
They stay standing, they turn brown, but it's sort of a palette of muted earth tones,
Mhm.
right? And so structure is maintained, and that's really been a key of like this movement towards these native grasses, that they do provide structure and a visual barrier
Okay.
throughout the year. And so
Okay.
then they'll green up in the spring.
That, and as you speak about that, I really think that even seems better, because it seems like it's changing with the seasons and renewing itself. So I like that. Yeah, and it's native, so I think it's a very good solution.
Okay.
Hey, I had a question. Art, how is the parking lot lit? I'm not seeing it on the street view. I was just curious.
It's funny, Louis, that you asked that, because it's lit. I've been up there a bunch, and I know Johnny is probably on the call because he can't stop himself, but I don't think we swore him in, but I bet you he can speak to this.
If Loversage wants it, if you're okay, Bob, I was just trying to see if I could find it.
Hey, what did I do?
No, you asked about if the parking lot was lit. I don't see it.
Yeah,
lit.
right.
Yeah.
I don't either.
There's lighting on the billboard. There's definitely that. I think there's light on this pole that's right in front that we're kind of looking at, Louis. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I'm sure there's light over in front of Freedom a la carte as you go down Spring.
Right.
Yep, there's one.
Yeah, but those are
Yeah.
street lights, right?
Right.
Those are streetlights, yep.
Oh, that's what I referred to, is that, are they lit? I was referring to what's happening it's not dark
Yeah,
anywhere in the parking lot.
just
That's what I
ambient
thought.
light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we have any regulations about lighting parking lots? I'm not sure.
Well,
I don't-
this is, for what it's worth, this is an existing parking lot, so.
Yeah. And there'll be light coming off that new structure too, I think.
Yes.
Mhm.
And those, for what it's worth, those street lights are gonna throw some light around that neck of the woods there. So
Okay,
I'm not talking
Okay.
pro or con, I'm just saying,
yeah,
I mean, I suppose we could twist their arm and say, look, if you want us to approve the rest of the thing, you gotta do something on the parking lot, although they are landscaping it. So I guess we're kind of at the point where it's, what's the pleasure of the commission here? If someone wants to make a motion, we could do that. If someone wants to continue this conversation, we can do that as well.
I'll move approval of the application as modified today.
I'll second
Okay.
it.
Okay. So there is a motion on the floor. And I'm just going to go back through any questions or comments. Louis, you said there's nothing from the audience, right? So we don't have any public
That's
comment
correct.
today. Okay. Anything else from the commissioners? Anything else from the applicant? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, motion carries. Now, why don't we move on to the next one? Louis, if you want to discuss that very briefly, and then
Yeah.
Art, tell us why you're doing this interim thing and for how long would that be and that kind of thing. By the way, when we approve an application like this, how long is that approval good for, Louis?
A temporary one?
No, the one, the application
Oh,
that we did.
1 year.
That's been approved. 1 year.
1
Okay.
year, but if they need an extension, they can always contact me and I can give them an extension on the COA, but COAs are good for 1 year.
Okay, so why don't you, Louis, just very quickly run through what they're doing
I'll
here.
be brief.
And then Art, you tell us why you want to do that and what your background on that is, please.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So they're just gonna do, as we said, a temporary one. It's gonna be crushed pavers with crushed gravel and bar service windows, lighting in restrooms. The curb cuts will remain. And they are going to modify the building a little bit. And I just said it generally meets the guidelines with regards to outdoor dining. They're going to be adding some windows for food. But that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and again, to speak to what Steve said, we just, right now, this parcel issue that I spoke of from the 1840s and 30s, does not interfere with the footprint of this patio. Whereas the larger patio, it would interfere with that one. And again, I think we got that dealt with. I should know, honestly, by Friday. But this patio was in lieu of that patio in order to facilitate commerce this year. Again,
So Art, if you get this resolved by Friday or whatever, are you still going to do this so you have something this summer? Or are you going to go directly into building what we just approved?
We're going to go directly into building what was just approved because it looks like we, should be able to be open, I'm going to say early Q4. If we just go straight to the one you just approved. Ideally, this is something for the history books only.
What does that
Okay.
mean? I don't understand what that means, Art.
Steve, I don't want to build this patio. The reason that this patio is in front of you today is because it's not encumbered by that parcel issue. So I don't, if the parcel issue is a sticking point and continues to be a sticking point, then we'll go forward with this patio. If not, we hit the ground running. Once construction documents are approved, we hit the ground running and start breaking ground in, June.
Okay, do the commissioners understand what they're asking us for here today then?
Yeah.
I have
Okay.
a question about the light fixtures that you have. Now, those are the ones that are the historic fixtures. Is that correct? Those, it looks like 3 over there. And
That's correct.
where would those be then with the permanent patio? Because you say that the footprint is a little bit different. So would they be in a different location? Because I can't remember from the first application where you had them.
Louis, you can, right there, Jenna, you can see them in the background, kind of.
Okay, so it would be moved over there. Okay.
They get moved, correct.
Okay.
Oh, they would be moved then. Okay.
Okay.
How much Did anybody have any questions? Anybody want to go into detail on this temporary?
Are these building modifications part of the permanent plan as well? I mean, you're not going to undo this and redo it, are you?
We do
So
not plan
the
to
building
undo and
modification,
redo.
Bob, consists of taking existing windows and installing a sliding service window. So for the full version, we're just going to leave the existing window in place. And it's a single hung. So all we're doing is raising the sash, putting in the Serve Pro, service window, and then lowering the sash when we take it back out.
Okay. So you want approval of this in case you need it?
In a perfect world, yes, sir.
But you hope you don't need it.
I hope I don't need it. I was very happy last week when I got the phone call from council that said, I don't think we're going to need that. I was like, well, I wasted some money and resources and anxiety over that, but I would prefer it to be wasted on paper rather than in reality.
Sure.
Well, we're all pretty much all of us are involved in real estate and development and design and all that kind of thing. So we understand how things change and so on. Does anybody have a problem with this? I'm trying to get to how to respond to the application from Commissioner.
I think it's fine for something temporary. The only thing I would say is if you do have to end up building this temporarily, I think that maybe the barrels could be softened a little bit by perhaps adding some greenery or maybe some freestanding plants near there, because again, you really don't have very good screening from the parking lot. And to me, just for my taste, it seems a little stark, especially where the parking lot is. So it might be something to consider if you do have to go, to this temporarily.
We could definitely
we approve
do
it as
that.
a temporary modification and put a 2-year time limit on it. And that way, if you have to build it and you need to make it more permanent, you can come back with anything that needs to be done to make it more palatable for the long term. Does that make any sense?
I was
It
thinking
does.
along the same lines.
Does that cause a problem for you, Art? In other words, we would approve it for a 2-year period.
I don't see a problem with that. I don't know. So that would be if this parcel from the 1830s continues to bite me in the behind, then
you get to come back. You get to come back and visit. You get to come back and visit with us in a year or two.
Okay, I mean I'm fine with that. Matt, you got any problems with that?
No, I don't see any problems with that.
I mean, you can always come back, but it just seems like we're making a statement here that this is not as fully developed and as permanently cool as the other design. And we're hoping that the parcel thing gets resolved. And if it doesn't, you come back and you'll probably want to do some other things to this, is my guess.
That's correct.
Mm-hmm.
I move approval of this application as a temporary improvement with a timeline of 2 years going forward.
Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, we got lots of seconds. Louis, you write down one of the seconds.
I'll pick one.
You pick one. Okay. Are there any other questions or comments for the applicant?
I'll just say
quickly because it looks very kind of perfunctory and straightforward here, and it is temporary, Art. But all those. Any other questions or comments from anybody?
I'll just say real quick, I follow Columbus Underground. In the first proposal of the 2-deck patio, I haven't seen many proposals downtown generate as much positive excitement to come back downtown. So I hope that one gets built, the first one.
That's that downtown or Underground Columbus or whatever it is. That's our fan page. So good. That's good. Okay, would all those in favor say aye?
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, hearing none, that has been approved. Great, that's exciting. I look forward to going over there and having a beer, Art. So,
I look forward to having that beer with you, Steve. Thanks, everybody.
thanks,
You bet.
everybody.
Thanks,
you.
Commission.
Okay.
Good job.
Next case, please, Lewis.
Yes, okay, so the next case is 404 Eastbound Street. I'll pull up the location here. It's kind of tucked away here. There we go. Oops. There we go. Just north of Mound Street here between Mound and Noble. The proposal, you can see there's two buildings here for Heavenly Kids Center Learning, a southern building and a northern building. The proposal is for here on the western edge of the northern building. And so the applicant is proposing a 900 square foot single story entry addition to an existing two-story structure. The addition will replace a fenced in outdoor play area. They have another new outdoor play area, so don't worry, the kids will still have a place to play. The exterior materials will consist of Nichi-Ha panels, wood composite siding, and brick. The storefront and doors will be a thermal storefront glazing system, and the round windows will be fixed with black powder-coated frames. Modifications to the existing building include modifications to the entrance and modifications to the western second floor windows. And the pickup drop-off will be enlarged and the walkway will be modified. The guidelines state that the environment will continue to be enhanced and energized with new buildings that promote visual energy and excitement. And this building is definitely promotes visual energy. It's pretty unique. Materials should be of high quality and durability, and a degree of transparency is encouraged. So the proposal generally meets the guidelines with regards to design principles, materials, sustainability, and openings. And that's it for my presentation.
Okay, who's here for the applicant, please?
Hello, Misty Norman, owner.
Christy, you say?
Misty?
Misty.
Yes.
Is anyone else here with you? Arthur?
Arthur Norman, owner.
Okay, anyone else for the applicants? Okay, would you please raise your right hands?
Well, can I interject real
Yes,
quick?
please.
Joe Gardner, our architect, I believe is on the call as well. He might be
Okay.
having some technical difficulties.
Joe, we're going to do one of two things. If he's here, we'll swear him in with you guys. And if not, when we catch up with him, I think what we'll do is try to proceed.
Okay.
And then see if we have a problem. And then if we need him, Lewis, it looks like there's a call in, user 5, whatever that means.
I think that's who it
Muted?
was. So I had muted that individual. So I just requested an unmute. So he's going to have to unmute himself.
Okay.
Otherwise, he could just hang up and call back in.
Okay,
That might
well,
be
in the
best.
meantime, I think we'll just move ahead with this. And then we'll swear him in later when we catch up with him. Would you please, Misty and Arthur, raise your right hands? Do you swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So say, I do.
I do.
Thank you very much. Okay, do you guys want to go ahead for the applicant, or do you want to
The
wait for your
architect's-
architect?
He's here. He just responded. I think he unmuted himself, but he's not on video. Are we okay with that?
Is everybody, I'm okay with it. Is everybody
Yeah.
okay? Would you identify yourself, please? Call in user 5.
Yeah, Joel Gardner, architect.
Joe, you say?
Joel.
Yes. Joel.
Joel.
Hey, I cannot
Yes.
see you, but would you just tell us that you have your right hand raised, please?
Well, yes, I had to switch the phone.
And would you, do you swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Okay, thank you very much. Lewis, we'll assume that he is sworn in then, and we're having video problems, so let's go ahead and proceed with the case. Who wants to discuss the case, please?
I can.
Okay.
Hi. All right,
Hello.
thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. It's been a long time coming. So we've been in business for about 14 years now. And about a couple of years ago in 2017, we started a two-phase project. What you're seeing is the second phase. The first phase was interior renovations. And so we added, about 3 or 4 classrooms and an indoor play area for our infant toddler side. And so after we finished in 2019, we started to embark on this project, which, like I said, is our second phase. And of course, in March of 2020, everything stopped. And so we just resumed the project, but we're really excited about this because, like I mentioned before, when we started the interior renovation on both buildings, we had an indoor play area for our infant toddler children. However, we did not have an indoor play area for our preschool children. And if anyone knows anything about children, it's just not a good idea not to allow them to have outdoor time. And with the weather being as such in the Ohio area, it was imperative for us to provide indoor play area for our preschoolers. And so that's what launched this project. The other thing that really stemmed the indoor play area is that, to be honest, we've had a lot of trauma in our program as far as with our children. And we created, during our interior project, we created a space called a Therapeutic Classroom. And this indoor play area will actually also come off of that Therapeutic Classroom. So children who need to de-escalate outside of the classroom, not only will they have an indoor room to go to de-escalate, they'll also be able to exit this area to also spend some time just, again, de-escalating and having a space to regroup.
Okay.
I don't know if Arthur wants to interject or at this point.
No, I think you touched on all of the reasons and what led us to this point. I think one of the things that was left off was we prior to the renovations, we had several entryways. Now we have one entryway, and with this new addition, we kind of wanted to just call out attention to that entryway.
I have a question, but I wanted to know, is it better for me to wait until the architect is done with his part of the presentation, or could I ask the question now?
Well, how do we want to proceed? Are there questions that we need to talk to the architect about? Has everyone seen the drawings?
I wonder if you could just walk us through the building, through the design of the addition.
Okay.
It's like fun.
Your elevation drawing looks just wonderful. I think it's really cool.
Thank you.
Mr. Gardner, did you want to address the building or the design?
It's basically an open space. We're enclosing what was their outdoor play area. It was an asphalted area. Now we'll have a concrete floor. And it's an indoor-outdoor scenario. We've got the large windows to let a lot of light and sun in, and then the round windows create a kind of a dancing as the sun goes across the sky along the wall. So it's a kind of an indoor unique as well as outdoor unique.
I love how whimsical it is.
I didn't understand the question.
I said, I love it. I think it's whimsical and just really fun.
I do too.
Excited to see it.
Good.
I wanted to ask you about the windows, which I think are so creative and artistic. What type of glazing is that? On the rendering, it looks like it's rather dark and maybe tinted. And I'm just wondering if you could explain what is the coloration of the glazing?
It's a double glazing, low E glass. There is not a coloring in it. The artist did the rendering. It may have shown some coloring, but there's no coloring. It's a clear glass.
Okay.
Low E.
Great.
Okay. Well, is everybody satisfied with the drawings? This is a very straightforward building. It looks like it's only 12 feet wide, sticks out. And then, of course, you've got the you know, the three
15
large
feet.
window panels and then the round windows. Round windows are in the back, which is kind of too bad because you don't get to see. I guess there's some on the west side, or the, yeah, west side.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll see.
Any questions about the construction, the drawings, anything about the design?
No.
Anything else from the applicants? Any other comments you wanted to make?
I
No.
just,
It's the pleasure of the group then.
I just had one quick question. So those beautiful large windows that you're creating, and they are opening up, they look out onto, is that your parking lot that they look out onto?
Yes.
Okay. And I don't know if there's any room, but it might be interesting if there was an opportunity to do maybe a little landscaping or a little screening between perhaps those windows and the parking. I don't know if that's something that
Pretty tight.
interests you, or you think that would be something positive, or if there's just not enough room for that, or you feel it would, not be appropriate.
There's very little room in front of that before the sidewalk. There is about 2.5 feet area there at the brick portion that we will have some landscaping there.
Okay.
I mean, in the front. What, are you planning to do anything to the existing portion of the building, the rest of the building? You've got this addition that I think is very interesting, and so how about the rest of the building? Do we get a paint job? Does it?
So when we started the project in 2018, we painted the buildings and we added aluminum composite to the buildings, to the sidings of the building. That's not shown on the Google Maps. I think depending upon where you move around the Google Maps, you can kind of see it. Portions of it is updated.
Oh, gosh. Right. I'm so sorry.
so
I forgot to show all my site visit pictures so far this meeting. Here we go.
That's what I was going to ask. Lewis, you got-
Yes, I visited the site, of course.
Give me justice.
Give me a second here. It's going to pull up here, but yeah, I have pictures. I visited the site yesterday.
I think I'm hearing the answer to my question. You know, when you do what's really kind of a very interesting addition here, it'd be nice to have the whole package look.
Yeah, of course. This is actually completing the project.
Yeah. Okay.
So this is what it looks like now. It was just kind of like I think almost like a brown cinder block look before a block look. You can see this is the new outdoor play area they added to the north side of the building. This is what it currently looks like. This is that pickup drop-off area. This is where the addition's going to be going. This window is going to be blocked over, and that's going to slope up there. This is the existing building. You can see these are the improvements he talked about. They updated the siding on the southern building. And you can see here just a view. This is what looks over on the west is a parking lot, to the north is a McDonald's. So.
Okay. Are there any other questions for the applicant? Hearing none, would someone, what's the pleasure of the group, please? Anyone interested in making an motion, please?
Yeah, I move to approve. I think it's great.
Is that Tony? Okay, we have a motion from Tony. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Hey, Bob Loversage, thank you very much. The motion is on the floor. Are there any other questions or comments? Anything from the audience, Lewis? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Those
Yeah, thanks for
opposed?
bringing something so special and fun to the downtown.
Thank you.
This motion is approved. Thank you. Yeah, thank you very much. And we'll look forward to seeing the finished product there.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, Lewis, next case, please.
Next case is 518 East Broad Street, State Auto Building. They came in a couple months ago for approval of the parking lot, the canopy, and all this area here. And so what they're proposing is installing 2 monument signs. One would be over on the east side over here, and one would be on the west side on North Washington Avenue. So the smaller will measure 4 feet 6 inches wide and 6 feet 6 inches high, and located on North 11th. The larger sign will measure 7 feet 4 inches wide and 11 feet high, and will be located along North Washington Avenue. They'll serve as directional building and entrance ID signs at the newly renovated parking and building entrance plaza. The cabinets will have a 1/4 inch thick acrylic. Faces will be internally illuminated with LEDs. So the staff analysis, the reason I'm bringing this here is because, of course, staff has the ability to approve monument signs in the downtown district. However, the guidelines do state that commercial signage in the downtown should be pedestrian-oriented and communicate simple, succinct messages in an aesthetically balanced manner. The pedestrian nature of the downtown is reflected in the size, design, and placement of signs. Based on this language, I informed the applicant that I could approve both monument signs if they were reduced proportionally to 6 feet in height, which is usually what planning requests for monument signs. Otherwise, they would have to go before the commission. The applicant then chose to have their proposal heard by the commission. So in summary, staff has concerns that the proposed signs, specifically the 7-foot by 11-foot sign, do not meet the guidelines with regards to pedestrian scale graphics. And I did go out and visit the site. Let me pull up those pictures here. Oh, it looks slow. So this is the site. This is where the 11-foot sign will be. These signs right here are about, I want to say 5 feet in height, more or less. Maybe the applicant can provide more details, but they're about 5 feet in height. This is where the 11-foot sign will go. This is facing south.
I'm sorry, tell me where the 11-foot sign will go, Louis?
It'll go on this side of the street over here.
On the left-hand side of the street, right?
Yes,
As
that's
you go
right.
in? Okay.
Yeah, this is on Washington Avenue looking south.
Yep.
This is the current signs. These are about 5 feet. This is looking north on that same street. So the 11-foot sign will be over here. And then this is on the east side. This is where the 6-foot monument sign will go. This is on North 11th Street. And with that, that concludes my presentation.
Louis, just real quick. Have we approved, when we see their elevation drawing on their package, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to get in front of the applicant here. Have we approved the new entry area, including landscaping and everything, and drive entries?
Yes, all that's been approved. That was approved. I can't remember what meeting, but several months ago.
I thought we had. Okay, so in other words, this signage goes in the context of what they are going to build, not what you showed us in the pictures. And I'm sorry, I'm getting out. I think I'm getting in front of the applicant. Who is here for the applicant, please? Okay, I see Carolyn and Steve Moore.
Yes, sir.
Okay, anyone else? Oh, and Jenny, is it Jenny? Okay. Would you folks raise your right hands? Do you swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
Okay. Applicants, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I wanted to speak a little bit to the guidelines and their pedestrian-oriented signage. Washington Avenue is pretty much a thoroughfare north and south with a connection to the freeway on the south end. So a lot of traffic comes through the east side of downtown on Washington Avenue. This is in general, a parking lot. So this signage is really intended to direct that traffic to tell them that they've arrived at the site of State Auto. So I appreciate the guidelines for pedestrian signage, but we feel that this is more oriented to the vehicle traffic that is looking for the building and need to know that they've arrived at the place where they want to park their car and enter the building. We also feel that the enormity of the patio and the plaza itself and all the new trees and the size of the trees, that the size will be compatible with the overall environment of the plaza in relation to size. The lighting The lighting is LED light. It's going to be pretty subtle light. The edges will be blue illumination, very, very modest. The white State Auto logo and insurance companies will be white during the day on the dark gray background. The State Auto will light up a tint of blue at night, and the insurance companies will stay white. One correction on the dimensions of the lettering: they are going to stand off ½ inch from the letter or from the face of the sign, so there'll be a little more dimension look in that. And I think that's I wanted to try and address the issue with the size in relation to.
I would make a comment too, with respect to size too. If you look at the scale of the buildings there, the State Auto buildings, those are 4 or 5 stories anyway, kind of massive buildings. And and for what it's worth, the art museum across the street it's 2 floors, but those are 2 tall floors, so it's probably 3 to 4 stories, somewhere in that range.
Right.
Of actual height too. So
we see the rendering
and
again.
It's a broad thoroughfare. I personally do not have a problem with it, and I also the whole plaza area there is large, and I think you have to look at the context it'll be in.
Right. When you look at the flat line drawing, it's a little misleading in enormity until you put it in in the context of the environment.
Yeah.
Didn't we approve skyline graphics on this building also?
Yes, there's signage on the south side of the building and the east side of the building as identity signs for that building.
That we also, remember, Bob, we approved that some time ago.
Yeah, right.
Okay.
I was just going to say, I think in defense of the guidelines, that's a good guideline to prevent things that are out of scale happening in our urban condition. However, I totally agree on this in terms of the context of this being a campus, scale of buildings.
Right.
The setback that we have, which is a bit unusual in the urban condition, I just think it feels great. It's well designed, and I very much support it.
To tell you the truth, I almost have a feeling if you went back down to whatever it is, 4 feet or something, it wouldn't be big enough.
Yeah.
So.
Well, the other issue is that the line of sight would be behind cars. You wouldn't see it.
Right.
Good point. Yeah.
State Auto being up higher, if you're trying to direct traffic into the parking lot.
True.
That's another reason for it to be taller.
Are there any other questions or comments?
Just that when this is illuminated at night, is that blue edge lit up as well? And is the dark gray surface, is that a matte finish, or is that like what type of a finish is it?
Janice, the edge will be illuminated, but it'll be subdued blue light at night, just like a light outline lighting. The paint surface we'll use probably a satin finish.
Okay.
Nothing high gloss, but we don't want to get too matted with it because of the environment and being outside. Matte paint can draw a lot of dirt to it, and the satin finish will subdue the gloss, but yet keep it cleaner.
And note on the color, Janice, or Jana, you mentioned that we had those other building signs approved. It's actually going to coordinate. It'll match that same color. So we're trying to just keep it in the era, but not keep it super bright and bold, but make it feel really elegant and feel in line with the era of that building and have those 2 metal finishes match.
That sounds good. And what about the base? What type of material is that? It looks like it's some type of a stone or a concrete.
It's a bulk wash concrete, so it's going to match all of the concrete that is going to be going on in the plaza.
Okay. Well,
and by the way, I think that base there is big enough and heavy enough, and it's up 3.5 feet or so. That'll moderate this the feeling of the height a little bit, I think.
Right.
When are you guys planning on starting this project, by the way?
Tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow.
It happened yesterday. Did you not notice that? No, so what you saw in one of Lewis's images on 11th Avenue, that's phase 1. So that smaller monument sign, that's going to be going in sooner, probably, I want to say maybe June or July. And then the larger one is phase 2. So that's going to happen a few months from there.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicants? What's the pleasure of the group, please?
I move to approve.
Okay, there is a motion to approve this. Who's that from? I couldn't see. Is that Bob?
Ted.
Ted. Okay, there's a move to approve. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Tony
Yep.
is a second. Okay. Questions, comments? Anything else from the audience? All those in favor say
Aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Aye.
Steve?
Steve, your mic's off.
I think we lost Steve.
Oh, I'm sorry.
There he is.
There we
I
go.
got, I lost my sound for a minute. How did we vote on that?
Motion passed.
Okay, motion passed. Thank you, folks. State Auto folks, thank you very much. Let's go on. to
Thank
the
you.
next case.
Thank you.
Okay. Next case is 123 East Spring Street. Up here. And this is the location right here. So this is the Freedom a la carte proposal that we approved several. It's related to that. It's Freedom a la carte. We approved the building having a German schmear put on it, I remember. And they updated the exterior of the building, put in some new storefront and all that. So I did visit the site. Let me pull it up here. You can see kind of what it looks like now. It's looking really nice, coming along nicely. Where are we? Let's see here. So this is they want to install a large graphic on the west side of the building. It would be this whole wall right here. You can see these are the windows that we approved to go in. They painted the building with that white German schmear. The signage has gone in, all the awnings, the access right there. So it's coming along nicely. And it'll overlook this parking lot to the east, or to the west, I'm sorry, which is also owned by Freedom a la carte. And just to give you an idea, that's what's across the street. So it'll add a little vibrancy to this area. And so, so the graphic will measure 62 feet wide by 24 feet high. The white on gray graphic will be painted over stucco and will face a parking lot to the west. It is designed and will be painted by a local artist, Mallory Arter. She's here as well, and she's provided this narrative talking about herbs and crops to symbolize the growth and prosperity that Freedom helps provide survivors of human trafficking. So you can read that if you'd like. So the guidelines state that art is a critical component of the built environment and adds much to the city's quality of life. Graphics should be pedestrian oriented, should not dominate buildings, and should complement the associated storefront and buildings. So in summary, the proposal generally meets the guidelines with regards to private art, as well as graphics. And with that, my presentation is complete.
Okay, who's here for the applicant, please?
Hi, it's Eric Badru, the architect, Paul Haynes, the owner, and Mallory Arter, the muralist.
And I don't see Valerie. Is she on here somewhere, Lewis?
Mallory, yeah. She's
Mallory, I'm sorry.
Mallory, can you turn on your video?
I'm being blocked. Okay, Mallory, are you on? Or are you going to be on?
I'm trying here. There we go.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I saw you before. Okay. Would you folks please raise your right hands? Do you swear and affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So say I do.
I do.
Okay, great. Let's go ahead and hear about the story here very quickly. I think it looks great, but if you got something to say, let us know, and otherwise we'll move along here.
Sure. I think our intent with this whole building design is just to create something beautiful for the city, as well as let the women that we're serving who survive sex trafficking enjoy beauty as well. So our thought is just to create something beautiful on this blank palette of a wall, symbolizing the growth and new life that we're offering women that have been sex trafficked, as well as a direct correlation to the food that's inside. So we're hoping that as people enter the city coming down 3rd Street, that they glance over and see something interesting happening, and it will draw their attention and obviously generate attraction to the building and curiosity. And then the phrase is something that relates to what's happening inside. We believe that every day is a fresh start, but we feel like that phrase is something that is relatable by everyone that's coming to the cafe as well. So that's kind of the purpose behind it, and just making it a beautiful statement for the city.
Okay.
I think this is exactly what we had in mind when we started the outdoor mural program. We have a nondescript building with a big blank wall, and somebody's making it beautiful with art, and without it becoming advertising. I think it's really creative and
it's
fun.
also very classy. I mean, it's not in your face
Mm-hmm.
and it surely fits
Awesome.
with, yeah. Are there any other questions from the commission?
I just had a comment. I agree with everything you're saying. But also, aside from it being creative and artistic and really what we had in mind for our program, it also is wonderful for the community because you're helping people that have been victimized and you're bringing awareness of that problem. So it's also another way that you're, really doing something for giving back to the community in so many different ways. So it's really a tremendous project.
Thank you.
In the interest of time, I move approval.
Okay, there's a motion. Is there a second, please?
Yep, I'll second.
Tony, okay. Got a motion and a second. Motion is on the floor. Are there any questions, comments? Anything else from the applicants? Applicants, we don't want to short circuit you, but I think it, in a way, speaks for itself. So, all those in favor, say aye.
Oh, there was I think.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I hear something?
Oh, I was just going to comment that we are like right behind Jackie O. So I think it's exciting for the city to have all of this happening at this part of the
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we are open for lunch, so come.
Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, motion on the floor. Anything from the audience? Hearing none. All those in favor, raise your right hand. Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? That motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Okay. So our next case that was on the agenda was for another graphic, but that application was withdrawn. So that was the one on North 3rd Street. So we'll skip that one. And we'll go straight to 321 East Capitol. And 321 East Capitol is right here. It's the large Pierce building, the red building. It's between Oak and Capitol Street, between South Grant and South 6th. And they're coming in for some graphics. So they're proposing an internally illuminated raceway mounted skyline sign. The sign will say Pierce and be located 99 feet off the ground on the building's parapet. Each letter will have white acrylic faces with black returns, but the center of the back sides of the faces will be covered with black vinyl, so at night, only the white outline of each letter will be illuminated. The dimensions will be 19 feet, 18 inches wide by 38 inches high. The guidelines say that skyline signs should be proportional to building height and mass, as well as compatible with the building architecture. Illumination is supported. So in summary, the proposal generally meets the guidelines for graphics and skyline signage. And I did visit the site. That's not 1 second here.
Louis, let's, why don't you show us your pictures of the site real quickly? I'm just going to ask, who's here for the applicant, if you would? Anybody here for the applicant? Would you identify yourself?
Yes, Michael Cox with Day Night Sign Company.
Anybody else here?
Yes, Michelle Applebaum with Day Night Sign Company.
Okay, anybody else?
No.
Would you two folks please raise your right hands? You swear and affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
Thank you. I'm just going to ask the commissioners real quick. Anybody got a problem with this thing here? Or do you want to talk about it? Anybody have a comment? I think it's pretty well done. It's 3 foot 2 inches tall. It's certainly, I don't think it's too big, and I think it's pretty subtle. I kind of like it.
Mm-hmm.
Anybody have an issue, problem, thought? Commissioners? Have you got
Nope.
everybody muted, Louis?
No. I'm trying to move this around quicker, so everyone's muted. Come on.
And let me ask, Day Night Sign Company, how bright are these letters? I mean,
How bright are the LEDs?
yeah.
Is that what you're asking?
At nighttime, how? I mean, will it be? I know it's way up in the air, but will it be glaring, or what's the? How do you modulate that?
Yeah, I have the designer here. Thad, they want to know how bright these LEDs are at night. 6,500.
Well, again, this is Michael Cox with Day Night. Now, the center of the letters are opaque. So the only illumination you're going to get out of the letters is around the outline of it. Mm-hmm. So the lighting will be pretty subtle on the letters themselves.
Okay, really interesting. Okay, it's all white. The letters are white. Is that correct? The boxes are black. Is that the idea?
The letters are white.
Well, the center of the letter is black, isn't it? Or is it white?
No, the letter's all white, but there's black vinyl behind it, so that at night you only see the outline in white.
Ah.
Yeah, you see that. You can see the dashed line. That's what will be black behind it.
Yeah.
So it'll just look like this at night. Or sorry, here, like yours.
Okay. What's
the
pleasure
approval.
Of the group? There is a motion to approve. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Okay. Is that Jana, I think?
Yes.
Okay, good. Any questions, comments for the applicant?
I like what you've done with the outline. I think that's very clever.
I do too. I do too. Very interesting. I think it'll be interesting when it gets to be kind of half light too, where you'll maybe still see some of the white, but you'll see it glow around the edges. That'll be kind of fun, you know, the 8:30 time, this time of the year kind of thing. Okay. I'm going to ask for a vote then if there's no other if there are no other comments. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And those opposed? The motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yep. Louis, I'm only seeing one person at a time. Oh, there we go. Thank you. Okay. Let's move on to the next case then.
Okay, so our case for the Main Street, 16 West Main Street, the main bar demolition, that application was withdrawn. They may be returning next month, so we'll skip that one. The next one is at 1 Riverside Plaza. That is, pull it up here on the map. So it is the, there's a skywalk between the AEP building and their parking garage. Computer's a little slow. Here you go on West Spring Street. So it's right here on this, this skywalk right here, West Spring Street. Here's Marconi Boulevard. Here's the AEP building.
Yeah, we're not seeing it.
Oh, you're not seeing it? I'm so sorry. I had to stop sharing.
Yeah, I have mine pulled up on my screen here. So
there we go. There it is. See it now?
Yep.
Okay, so that's the skywalk right there, West Spring Street, Marconi. Here's AEP. And so they're proposing to install an American Electric Power logo on both sides of the AEP pedestrian bridge that spans over Spring Street. The overall dimension of the logo will be 11 feet 3 inches by 5 feet 8 inches high, with each letter measuring 13 3/8 inches tall. They will all be internally illuminated. The applicant was unable to provide details on the sign's construction and attachment to the bridge in time for the meeting, so I asked them just to go conceptually for now. So our analysis is that commercial signage should be pedestrian oriented and be designed in an aesthetically balanced manner. Although skywalks are generally not supported, in cases where a skywalk is supported, its design and colors should be such that it is muted and its overall presence subdued so as to not draw attention to itself. So in summary, while the graphic is generally designed in an aesthetically balanced manner, staff does have concerns that its placement makes it auto-oriented and not pedestrian-oriented, and that the sign is drawing attention to the skywalk. And I did visit the site as well, and here you can see, here's the stoplights. The sign would go over here, and that's the crosswalks. The sign would be right there. And that's it for my presentation.
Can we see that picture again?
Oh, sure.
And who is here for the applicant, please?
Hi, Jeff Tomlinson with American Electric Power.
Okay. Anybody else with you today, Jeff?
Yeah, Michael Cox with Day-Night Sign Company.
Okay. Anybody else then? Two of you? Would you raise your right hands? Do you swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So say I do.
I do.
Michael, you're swearing a lot today, so. That's twice.
I know, my mom always warned me about that.
Yeah. Okay. Let's. This is a conceptual discussion here, so let's throw thoughts, questions at these folks here, if you would. I guess I've got a question about how bright. Again, I want to hear about the brightness of the light on it, because again, I think. You know, that becomes a consideration, especially if you're over a roadway. Is it distracting and that kind of thing? So is it only on one side of it, or it only be on the east? I know it's a one-way street, obviously, but.
The request was for both sides.
Okay.
What's the purpose of the signs? I mean, what are you trying to achieve?
It was just an extension of the AEP brand awareness. Just most of the logos that we have on the building, of course, are at the top of the building. So there's really not much branding at street level. So they were looking for an opportunity here to increase that branding.
Had you thought of, when you were looking into this, had you thought of other locations at the street level that you could consider for that branding opportunity?
I have not. This was the only proposal that was presented to me that we move forward with.
I don't think I have a big objection to the idea. We have, railroad bridges that have the name of the railroad on it, and now we have highway bridges like at Polaris and Easton. But typical of AEP's request to us, I think this is way too big. Look how big it is compared to the car that's going underneath. I think you could make the same statement if the sign were half as large.
So this was a conceptual photo here, but I think there was a drawing. Louis, do you have that other drawing by any chance? The architectural. There you go. Sorry, so it's a little bit smaller than what the net photo was.
I'm not sure that photo is exactly to scale because this is 5 feet tall you're asking for, right? It might be. That looks like a small car actually, but I had the same thought. I mean,
Well, and part of the, I guess, the visual representation of the logo, because of the parallelogram is so large. I mean, the letters are only 13 inches tall. So overall, the logo appears to be larger. I mean, it is, but the letters themselves, for readability, are not that large. In the viewing distance from Marconi Boulevard, and a little further to the east, I think requires the letters to be that size. And getting smaller than that, the viewing distance of the sign and readability is not that large or not that far. So I think the size, and to be honest with you, there was a presentation that was larger than this, and it was scaled back to this size. So excuse me, and to answer another question from earlier, it is double on both sides of the bridge, but it's a one-way street. So in hopes that when we get back to normal and we start having 5K walks and marathons and things like that downtown, this has been a starting and stopping point of those programs. And so that's why it's being requested for both sides. So when there's pedestrian traffic in that area and thousands of people down in that area, that AEP would be represented there.
Michael, is the sign clear like it appears to be here? I mean, where it's not a letter or the logo, we're looking through and seeing the glass. Is that
right? The sign will be mounted on, we'll have to put aluminum stringers behind it. So a small aluminum tube framework that would be attached to the bridge structure itself, and then the letters would be attached to that. So yes, it's not going to have a background, so you will be able to see through. And that, of course, that framework would be painted the same as the structure of the sky band or the skywalk.
Right.
The red band, it looks like it's about 3.5 inches. Is that what it is in thickness, height, whatever?
Yeah, I think so. That's probably about right.
My gut is that since it's up in the air, I'm not sure that the scale is way off on the thing. Could it be a little smaller? Maybe, but on the other hand, it doesn't. If it gets too small, it's not going to look right either.
Right. I had a question along those lines. Does AEP ever use a logo like this, but just like with the initials AEP? Do they have, you know how a lot of corporations will have a variation on their logo that is really identifiable? And I'm wondering if AEP ever uses something like this, but instead of spelling out those 3 words, they have something that's either initial or an icon or something else that might be very identifiable, but a little simpler to put there.
Yes, that was the standard previous logo.
Right.
But it was at some point it was decided to spell out the entire company name, American Electric Power. I think there was a lot of unknowns that the AEP wasn't especially obvious to a lot of people what that company was. So this is the new standard.
Yeah, these letters would be enormous if they did that.
Well, I mean, depending on what they would do, depending on what the logo was and how large we'd make it or whatever. But I was just wondering if there was, if there was a spectrum of type logos that are currently used. But you're saying, no, this is what's used because there were some problems identifying the company. So this is what is now used. which is fine. I was just asking to see if there were other options.
Sure. Yeah, this is the standard, today's standard logo.
Okay.
Okay.
So you'll come back to us next month then with details. Is that the idea?
Yeah, we were missing some details on how it was going to be attached to the bridge, some engineering designs, but we figured that we should just at least go through the conceptual point to see if this size and the idea of having the illuminated sign is acceptable.
Seeing this drawing, I think I feel a lot better about it. I think the size is okay, in my opinion.
I would agree.
Okay, so I guess what they're trying to get from us is a sense, is everybody, so, and, you know, give them some guidance here is what they're doing, so. Okay, well, I think what we're hearing is, you know, I think it probably works. Am I correct in saying that, or?
I think
I don't
so.
want to speak for anybody else.
I
Okay,
would agree.
we'll wait to hear from your, and again, I'm gonna want to understand, you know, the brightness of it, too. And I don't know how we gauge that. You can help us with that, so. Okay.
Is there a limitation that we need to aim for, or is there any guidance on that?
Okay, Louis, there is a guideline that the city uses, is there not? And we have not adopted it, but we've kind of, you know, that's one that they use, I think.
Well, I think the only limitation that I'm aware of with signage is for electronic message centers, and the intensity, and it's really, you measure the difference between the ambient lighting and the actual lighting of the sign, both in the daytime and the nighttime.
That's correct.
And that is a guideline that's out there really only if there's a complaint. I'm not aware that it's ever, except in developing the criteria, that it's ever been used, but I mean, it could be. I think I can help with some of that information. I don't know if you're familiar with the Cover My Meds building and the new signage that's on the back side of that on the west side that faces 670. With that building, everything that they is certified, and there's another program, I forget what it's called, but we had to do some lighting measurements on that to prove that they conform to that. So there are some things that we can do to kind of give some measurements, just you know, for reference, I guess. So
Okay, good. Well, thank you. Okay. Okay, any other questions, comments?
I just had one quick comment. I think because you want to have the sign on both sides, and the skywalk is really transparent, it would be good to think about, you know, if that's how that will look, and how you can make the back of both signs, I don't know, in some way, so that when you're looking through the skywalk, it's not, you know, the back of one sign isn't competing with the other. You know, if you ever have that perspective, I don't even know if you would, because you're going, you know, it's high up, but just thinking about that, thinking about the transparency, and will the two signs conflict with each other, and how you can treat them from the back to minimize that.
Okay, there's another comment. Okay,
You might
thanks.
take pictures of the bridge, of the existing bridge for that presentation during the day and at night. You know, so how brightly lit the pathway is at night, and that might be helpful next time when you come back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, you guys, you're hearing some comments. We appreciate it. Louis, you can just go on to the next one, I guess, if there's nothing else here.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
All right. So the next case is at North Pearl Street. Let me share my screen here again. This is the location here on the map. Give me a second. There we go. So North Pearl Street between West Gay Street and East Broad Street, right over here, north of the Ringside Cafe. And so the applicant is proposing to hang temporary art in Pearl Alley across from 47 North Pearl Street. The banner will hang between two light poles in the alley at a height of between 16 feet and 20 feet. And what's going on is that the Pearl Farmers Market is hosting a live painting event on 6/8 and 6/11. And artist Freddie Cochran will be painting the banner on site. And when the banner is completed, they will hang it during market season until October 15th. And the applicant included a narrative there as well for you to read if you'd like. The public art installation will be in the right of way and will therefore be seeking approval from the Columbus Art Commission at the May 15th meeting. However, the Downtown Commission offers non-binding recommendations regarding the placement of art, public art in the downtown district. The guidelines state that public art is a critical component of the built environment and adds much to the city's quality of life. The design of art in public spaces should be influenced by physical context in terms of composition, scale, mass, and materials. And so in summary, the proposal generally meets the guidelines with regards to public art. And I did visit the site. And so this is the alley. And here on the left are the light posts that the banner will be hung from. And it'll be the one with the car underneath it. The banner will be hung right here. And here is what the artwork will look like. And with that, that concludes my presentation. I believe the applicant is here as well.
Okay. Would the applicant please say hello?
Hi, I'm Sam Sharkey with the SID and the Pearl Market.
Okay. Anybody else here with you today, Sam?
Nope.
Okay. Would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
Great. Thanks so much. Boy, from my standpoint, I'd say, wow, that's great. It's fun. Anybody else got a comment?
Great.
You like this in any way? Can you light this, or is it just visible during the day?
So the light poles are operational, but the art will largely be hung, it'll be about half above the light fixture, just for practical reasons of running electricity from the light poles and whatnot. We're not planning to light it during most days. That said, we do plan on having a happy hour event in the alley later in the summer, and we will be sure to display it at that time. Another consideration is I have asked the artist to make one final change to this piece. I've asked that the dog have a happier face. That's for Lori and the Art Commission to decide. So.
What's the picture about?
Yeah, it's
looks like fun.
So showing city life, and you know, Pearl Market is, you know, we happen in that alley 2 days a week during the summer, and we're just very invested in making the Gay Street a pedestrian friendly, you know, happening place to be. And part of the joy of being in the city is being able to see some art now and then, right? So yeah, we're hopeful and excited to get this up for the season.
Okay.
So our job is to make a recommendation to the Art Commission. Is that correct, Steve?
I don't know.
I can answer.
I think.
Or Louis?
Yeah, so basically public art is the purview of the Art Commission, but when it's downtown, the Downtown Commission reviews it and provides a recommendation on the art, on its placement, its location.
I move that we recommend to the Art Commission installation of the applicant's banner artwork.
Okay, and then even though this is a conceptual request, I don't know, we out of line on this, but I guess if somebody wanted to, what we're doing is taking away the ability of somebody to complain about it in the meeting if it were a formal application, because this is just, but I don't know. Is that an issue for you? This is a conceptual request, isn't it?
No, it's not a conceptual request. It's just an application for recommendation.
Oh, perfect. Okay, Bob, that's a good, you've got a motion. Is there a second?
Yes.
Please? Is there a second to this?
Second.
I'll second.
Tony, Okay, Jana, thank you. We got a couple seconds now. I think it's great. Anybody, any other questions, comments?
I just have one really quick question. So it looks like there's a building behind where this will be placed. And I'm wondering if this material is, opaque, or if it has some type of transparency to it. Because I'm wondering, are those offices behind there, or are they apartments? Or is there any concern what that view would look like for those windows behind there?
Yes, that's a good question. And this is planned to be on for 18 canvas, so there really isn't any transparency to it, and there certainly won't be after it's painted. It will absolutely obscure the bottom part of that second bay of windows. That said, they will still receive light from the top, and our hope is that it will be a good reminder to people that there's reason to get outside.
Okay.
Good
Well,
answer.
it doesn't obscure, what's great is it doesn't obscure the whole window, which is
Yes.
very good. Okay.
Yes.
No, and it's not totally up against the building either.
Right.
Yeah, it's about 5 feet between the light pole and the building, actually a little more.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Have you heard anything from the owner of that building, or did they have a comment, or have you talked to them? Or?
No, I originally wanted this project to be on that building, but they were not open to that. So this is my this is my concession.
I like this better.
Yeah.
So this just has the image on one side then, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, well, what's the pleasure of the group? There is a motion on the floor in a second. What's everybody want to do? I'm going to ask for a vote. Any other questions or comments from anybody? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, good. That motion carries then. So that recommendation will go wherever you go, Willis.
Hey, Sam, how do I spell your last name, please?
Shark like the animal, E-Y.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, good. Okay, let's see. Any other items we got to go over? Has anybody got any questions on staff approved applications? Okay.
We had ad murals, some basic graphics, a temporary drive, parking lot code violation, and ad murals.
What's the code violation?
They had, what was it? They had tried to restripe a parking lot without previous approval. So code caught them on that. And then I worked with them on a restriping plan with traffic.
Where was this? Which lot was that?
This is at 247 South Front. So just north of, I think, like the Beatty building in that area. The parking lot where the Millennial Tower is going to go eventually, if it ever happens. Yeah.
Where the what? Oh,
Millennial Tower.
You mean Front Street, not 4th Street.
Front Street. Yeah, my bad. Yeah.
Okay. Good. Hey, why don't you walk through, if everybody's got just a minute or two, walk through the application that was withdrawn on 3rd Street, Lewis, because we spent some time trying to figure our way through that one. So.
Okay. Can I get a motion on the minutes or the staff approved items, please?
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the staff approved items? A motion, please.
So moved.
Okay, Bob Lovett,
Second.
is there a second?
Yep, second. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, Lewis.
So you want me to talk about the graphic, is that right?
Yeah, why don't you just walk through what happened on that, what that issue was there, please, for a second.
Okay, so this was very similar to the Freedom a la carte proposal. Both of these were graphics that, I withdrew the materials, let me get it up here. They were graphics that BZS, Building and Zoning Services, had determined constituted on-premise graphics. And if it's an on-premise graphic, even if it's paint, of course, then you need to have a graphics permit. And it was at Mad Lab. Mad Lab is on 227 North 3rd Street. And the north side of the building has this big blank wall. So this was, that's fine, I guess. But this on the north side, they wanted to put this large mural. And they had gone before the Art Commission, but since they needed a permit, it fell under the purview of the Downtown Commission. And essentially what Building and Zoning Services, they're the ones who review these to see if they're on-premise graphics or not. What they said is that the content was related to a theater, which meant that it was related to Mad Lab, which meant that it was an on-premise graphic. And specifically the tickets and the happy and the frowny faces, I guess they thought those specifically related to the business and made it an on-premise graphic. Lori Budger of the Art Commission tried to argue against that, but the Building and Zoning Services was pretty adamant about it. They stuck to their interpretation. So they were going to come before the commission for approval, much like the one of Freedom a la carte. Same thing at Freedom a la carte. They viewed this as an on-premise graphic because it's advertising fresh fruit and ingredients and stuff like that they use in their restaurant. And so what happened in the end is the applicant decided, I worked with them. I talked to the city's attorney's office. I talked to Building and Zoning and Services. This was quite a convoluted project. But they ended up deciding to remove the tickets and to remove this, and they're going to replace it with something else. And at that point, it's just art. And private art isn't reviewed by the Downtown Commission. It's just private art. There's no permit, and everything that we issue a COA is related to a permit. So this was very complicated.
Does that then require them to use, or does it mean that they did not have to use a sign painter to paint the building?
Well, this was a very complicated project that took a long time. Actually, we spent a lot of time on this. Officially, if you install a graphic downtown, you have to use a licensed sign contractor. And at that point in time, that's when the applicant said, forget about it. We'll just change the images because then it just gets too cost prohibitive for them.
I see.
Now, let me ask you.
But you're saying that somebody can do this to the side of a building in the downtown, visible from the right of way, without any permission from us or the Art Commission?
Unless we go ahead, unless we make a code revision, that is correct. All of I could pull up the code if you want, but everything that we review is related to a permit. And painting a building isn't considered, you don't have to get a permit to paint a building or to do something like this. And so since there's no permit required, we don't have oversight of this. Neither does the Art Commission, because the Art Commission only reviews public art. This is on private property, so it would be us, but there's no permit associated with it.
And why did the other one need our permission then?
Well, because the other one, it was considered on-premise graphic.
Why?
So since
it's art. I mean, it doesn't advertise Freedom a la carte.
Oh, it
doesn't mention their name.
It has food pictures, Bob.
Bob, I mean, I sympathize with your, interpretation. These were discussions we had with Building and Zoning Services. We tried to stress that point of view that, this is art. But they're the ones who make that interpretation. They're the ones who say this is an on-premise graphic.
Does that mean that they're required to have a sign painter paint that building?
They don't need to have a sign painter, but they have to have an agreement with a licensed sign company to apply for them.
Wow.
So Building and Zoning Services is allowed to make judgment on content on advertising murals, but we're not.
That was my question as well, Bob. I said, how is this? They're allowed to look at content and say, this is on-premise or off-premise graphic, but they're not allowed to comment on modifying the content, if that makes sense. They can't say, hey, we like this, but we want this to be different. They can just say, you need a permit, you don't need a permit.
Guys,
I'm sympathetic, trust me. We argued this.
I find it's very confusing, and this is the reason I wanted to just take a couple minutes to talk this. Not that I'm not even going to try to get us to come to any conclusion, but I thought everybody ought to hear what some of the discussion is.
Yeah. Now we can, if we want to make this, it would be very tricky because our power of the COA rests on permits. And since no permit is required for public art, we really don't have any authority.
No permits required for private art, you mean?
I'm sorry, private art, that's right.
Okay.
Okay, guys, so I don't know, here we go. Yeah. So we got some of these, they decided to withdraw it. They're going to try to work something out with the city. I suggested to Lewis that if they brought it in, I didn't think we were going to have any trouble approving it. But I guess they don't want to be stuck with trying to have to hire a sign painter to do it. They're a nonprofit and they're trying to put art up on the walls. So, which of course we think is something fun and good.
Right.
So at any rate, I just wanted everybody to hear briefly about that. Anything else then for us today?
I had a question about that. So the one that's on the front of the building, which has the has the rabbit on it, has that already been? That has not been painted yet.
No, that one was viewed as not being an on-premise graphic because it's just art.
I see.
So but that advertises their business.
It has their name. Yeah.
It says Mad Lab on it.
Right. Yeah, it says Mad Lab. So that one would probably have to get a COA for a permit for that sign.
Right.
Right.
I guess, yeah.
So that'll have to come to us.
See, Building and Zoning Services said this one didn't. Trust me, this is very complicated. I think it might be because they already have, I think that Mad Lab is already written on the front of the building.
So the sign is not part
that's an existing sign. You people just don't seem to understand things. That's your problem.
That's existing already, the Mad Lab, see? So what this is going to be is just painted. I think they explained that the rendering that this just looks like that, but it's really just going to be this is going to currently stay there as is, and they're just putting that mural up around it.
I see, and that the mural is private art because it's not. Yeah, they consider that mural private art as well.
And it's not an on-premise graphic. That's correct.
Right. Okay.
I think they're turning the existing sign into an advertising mural.
What?
Oh, because now because you're saying that with the new mural, that Mad Lab is really part of the design, right? And so it all works together. So it really.
We look at materials and colors and things on buildings, and this is, I mean, like it or not, I don't particularly like it, but like it or not, it's completely changing the character of that building. In the same way that as if somebody came in and put aluminum siding on it or did some other modification.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And the idea with that is we discussed that as well when we're talking about colors and materials on a building and stuff. We're kind of tying that into the permit. We're saying, okay, we'll issue your COA for the permit if we like the colors. Whereas in this case, there is no permit that we can use as leverage.
Well, I don't agree with that. It's a fundamental change to the building, and it's an advertising mural, and those require permits. It's a mural that advertises Mad Lab. Or it's a big sign. But I mean, whatever, however you want to classify it, it's something that we should be having jurisdiction over.
So if we want to take that, route, then we would have to say that a mural, the only way we can tie painting a building to a COA is through a permit. And the only way we can do that is by saying it's on-premise advertising. And so if you want to make the argument that all of this is on-premise advertising, that's the only way we could do it.
You know what I think it is, Louis, because both of these graphics are identifying the building and they're tying back to the building. It's not like there's a image or these two images have nothing to do with the building. So both of them are to enhance the Mad Lab and to call the Mad Lab to our attention. And so it is really, I think it really is advertising the building, because it's not like, well, these graphics are completely unrelated to anything that, you know, it's supposed to be enhancing Mad Lab, right? It's supposed to be connected with Mad Lab. So
Right, well, we have to be careful about starting to regulate private art, I guess, is the issue.
Right. Right. I'm just saying, like, thinking about what Bob is saying, and I do think that's a really good point. And I do think when we think about it, of course, it's hard to, you know, we don't want to regulate private art, but at the same time, it's like a gray area, because to argue that this really isn't connected with the building or promoting the building in any way, it really is connected with the building.
And
in the same way that the other one was, that the fresh
yes,
I forget the name of it.
Freedom.
A
la carte.
Yeah. The same thing.
I guess the other problem is we're trying
at some point in time, what are we going to say? That somebody can come in and do whatever they want to the exterior of the building, and then they say, well, it's art.
Yeah.
I mean, could be a slippery slope at some point in time.
I agree.
Well, as soon as they're doing materials, it would need a permit, right? This is only for paint.
This is not just paint. This is art. This is permanent improvement or defacing, depending on your point of view of this building.
Right. So I agree with everything you're saying, but I'm just conveying the position of the city on this. And I think the other problem is we want to promote public art, I suppose, or private art. And I suppose it depends on if we like this or not. The issue is if we make people go through the graphics permit process, a lot of these nonprofits and a lot of these organizations that create private art like this, it becomes unfeasible for them to move projects like this forward. It becomes cost prohibitive.
We're approving the art that's going on that building on Library Park, aren't we?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
But see, that had a structure to it. It had a bracketing system. It had some construction to it, which required a permit.
Oh, I think you're picking nits here. I mean, they could build that frame as part of the design of the building, fine, but we still are approving the artwork that goes in it.
We need to get this straightened out, because otherwise we're going to get into some situation here where it's going to be a mess. It's going to be messy some form or another.
Yeah, I think this is crazy.
It's a loophole. It's definitely a loophole in our code. So if that's something we want to address, I can work behind the scenes to try and get that fixed, but I'd have to work with the city attorney's office and BZS to see if we can enforce that.
Well, this might be one where we ask the city attorney's office to be our attorney like they're supposed to be and help us find a way to get done what we think needs to get done instead of going to the city attorney's office so they can find another way to say no.
Well, but part of that is we need to be telling them, I think, what we think we ought to be doing.
Yeah.
Instead of we're kind of passive and they just fill the void is what happens here.
Exactly. I agree. Let's tell them that these two situations, one of which the city told us to issue a permit, one of which the city is telling us not to issue a permit, are the same thing. And we believe they should be regulated in the same way. And that the downtown commission should be involved. And maybe the arts commission, I don't know.
Okay, so I can advocate for your guys' opinion on this. Now, would you like me to, this might be a good time to use a business meeting. Would you like to have a business meeting where we have Walter Green from BCS and the city attorneys there and we discuss all of this? Is that what I'm hearing, or do you want to just have it at the next commission meeting at the end? What would you like?
Either way.
Yeah.
I'm thinking a business meeting would be the best way to handle
Unfortunately,
this.
I'm thinking a business meeting too. It's 10:30, so we're spending these days. By the way, I try to keep these meetings moving, and I hope I'm not pushing anybody.
No, you did a great job, Steve.
But all of a sudden we turn into 2 hours on these things, even when we don't have any, highly contentious cases. So, what's everybody want to do? I'm open to either.
Let's have a
But
business
I think it's
meeting.
something
Business
we
meeting.
probably ought to get straightened out. We ought to have a sense of.
Okay. I will set up a business meeting and then we'll see what we can do. I'll do a little research in the background. I'll talk about if it's something we want to review, how can we make that happen? Is this a code amendment? It's probably gonna have to be a code amendment. And I'll set up a business meeting. I'll put it on our calendar, okay?
Mm-hmm. That sounds
Sounds
good.
good.
Yeah.
Great comments, everybody.
Okay, good.
The last thing we have, it's pretty late. I don't know if you want to discuss the lighting research. I can be brief if you like, or we can just leave it till next time.
Anybody want to talk about lighting for a few minutes? Or do you want to talk about that at our business meeting?
Let's do that at the business meeting also.
Okay.
I agree.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, guys, thanks very much. Appreciate it. Have a great day. And by the way, it's going to be beautiful this afternoon, so enjoy it.
Thank you. You too.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you, everybody.
Everybody.
See everybody. Thanks. Louis, thank you.
Hey, thank you, guys.